So my talk is about PHP story. Well, it's mainly I just focused on PHP from when it was born to nowadays, and that's the first part. Then introduce the what's PHP, how can you contribute to PHP, who does contribute to PHP worldwide. And then the second part is more about PHP's future and the new version, which is coming out. It should be during June or July. It's the 5.5 version, which will be stable very soon. So that's the second part of my talk. About myself, so I'm Julien. So I'm release managing the 5.5 version of PHP together with another guy. I'm working for BlaBlaCar in Paris. It's a car sharing system. It's covoiturage.fr in French. So I've been working with PHP for about a decade now, and I've been working inside PHP's heart, inside PHP source code for about 3 years now. And I'm writing actually a book which is online. Well, the first chapter is online. It's phpinternalsbook.com. And it talks about how PHP works from an internal point of view. It's made for people to get more people to contribute. I have a strange sound in the microphone. Anyway, so PHP evolution. We're going to talk first part about PHP evolution. So this is why the elephant. Okay, so perhaps people was wondering why PHP's got an elephant as a design. It's just about this. It's cool. So PHP story. Should you know this guy? It started from 1995. I guess everybody knows him. Who doesn't? Here, yeah. Oh, you don't know him? He's a PHP's creator, so Rasmus Lerdorf. So the main problem was that in 1995, back in 1995, it was quite hard to develop anything which could be called dynamic web in 1995. So the first thing that was the first normalization, the first language, the first technical stuff about dynamic website was CGI. Okay, I guess you know about CGI. So this is an implementation where this is part of an implementation of a very simple script in CGI. This is in C, and you have not all the code because there is much more code. Just to say, hello, you are, hello, your name, here is your age. And there is a form, and then when you submit the form, you have to grab all the values by yourself, you have to parse it by yourself. Well, it's very, very hard. And Rasmus did not really appreciate other languages such as Perl. He found it was a little bit hard as well to develop just easy things like this. Back in 1995, it was very hard. So he worked on a compilation of Perl scripts, and then he used the C language to develop an easier and a more general purpose language which should be dedicated to web. This is crazy stuff. Just doing C to handle a web request is something too hard. Just now, Rasmus invented in 1995 PHP. So this is the same thing. This is the whole thing, but this is the same thing as the program we saw before. This is a little bit easier, as you can see, because you get variables, and then he just created a language to parse CGI values and to get them into, to turn them into variables like this. And that's pretty much better. You like it because it's easier. It's just the first problematic is still embedded in the language. It's keep it easy, keep it simple, just make it work, and that's all. And that's just a PHP story. Okay, so you have to remember this when you use PHP nowadays. It's been designed to be an easy language, very easy to learn, very easy to push, very scalable, and it's been designed like that since years. So now we have PHP 5 nowadays, but PHP started with so PHP 1, PHP 2. You probably don't know PHP 1 and 2 because they have not been spread like PHP 3 was. So PHP 3 was released in 1998. Who actually used PHP 3? Yeah, oh, lots of people. That was, yes, I did as well. Very little, it was then PHP 4. So PHP 3 is was just the beginning of the story. It's just, it got more and more contributors because hey, here is another language. Rasmus just wanted to make a language for the web and just solving web problems. Okay, that's very important. PHP has been born with the web concept in its heart. I don't know any other language with the same story. You can do web stuff with lots of languages nowadays, like Python, Perl, or anything, or Java. But all those languages did exist before the web, and they turned to web. They got transformed to handle the web. PHP was just born together with the web, and that's, in my advice, the only language which is like this. And it's open source developed, so back in 1998 or 2000 years, many developers from many companies worldwide just gave their time, gave their energy to make PHP. So PHP 3 was in 1998. If you still want to get it, you can download PHP 1, PHP 2, actually, and PHP 3 as well. We have a website which is called museum.php.net, as it's called. You should have guessed that this is a museum, so you can just download the old, very, very old version of the language, and it's very interesting to see how it's evolved. PHP 3 was just really, really the beginning, just bricks you just put next to each other, and you have no glue between. Okay, it's not stable, it's very slow. So PHP 4 was designed to be much more useful, and PHP 4 was released so in 2000. For the first time, you could just manage sessions internally into the language, so you just don't have to pass the cookie data anymore and send an identifier and send a cookie and just handle the session by yourself like you used to do in PHP 3. Now it's developed in PHP 4 just because it became a problematic in PHP 3 and in the web, and so it got developed and it got embedded in the language. So that's PHP's spirit, is just get the web problems as they come, as they appear, and solve them the easiest way possible, and that's all. So better extension management as well. I will talk about this later. And SceneEngine. So SceneEngine is something very complex. So from PHP 3 to PHP 4, Rasmus so built the base, the very basic stuff of PHP, but actually we can consider those two guys as being the real, should I say that, but the real guys behind the PHP engine. They are Seth Zeratsky and Andy Gatmans. They were students in Israeli student back in 2000, in 1998, and as a student project for their school, they decided to just take PHP 3 and start another version of PHP from scratch. And they, together, if you just stick their first name together, you get send, okay? This is why send. So after they created a company to support PHP for other companies, but they totally rewrote PHP 3 and they introduced the engine, the send engine, which is something which compiles your script and with an execution engine. So this is a real virtual machine like JVM can be. It's a virtual machine, and they just developed that to boost performance, because PHP 3 was just so slow back in 2000. So they decided to develop a new engine so that it gave a boost to PHP, because it could compile and execute the script in 2 different phases. It's just much more better for the performance. And then PHP 5 came out in 2004 with a real object model. Should you remember, in PHP 4 it was just a syntactic sugar. It was just there were no objects, no real objects in PHP 4, neither in PHP 3. So like always, the community and the web turned to objects programming. So PHP back in 2004 turned to object programming as well. As usual, keep it simple. We have a simple object model, which is simpler than Java 1 or something like that, but which is very robust as well. That was back in 2004. And then we did not get out of this 5 letter yet, so we are still running PHP 5 point something nowadays. And it had a very smooth development phase. As you can see, every year there was a new version of PHP 5, mainly just adding new features, stabilizing the actual features, and improving performance at every release. Okay, so I did not put all the differences between those versions. It's mainly add more stuff, just enhance the object model and add new extensions and add new stuff for the language, because as you know, the web is just evolving at a speed very, very fast. So PHP has to follow all this. For example, in 5.2, in 2006, we introduced the JSON extension, for example. So back in 2006, there was a problematic, and the JSON format started to be spread out worldwide. And then PHP just embedded it into the language. So it's very nice to follow the web. In PHP 5.3, we had many new features about object model, and then 5.4 and today 5.5. So PHP 6. I will talk about this after, I guess. So as you can see, it's strange, because 2004, 2005, 2006, okay, it's all right, every year. And 2009, oh, what happened in 3 years? 2011, 2013, oh, okay, so now it's 2 years gaps. It's strange. So that was just contributors from all over the world. They just came to PHP, and we just released version whenever we just wanted. So now, starting from PHP 5.4, so from now to nowadays, we have a true release process. Okay, we will try to use it whenever it's possible. But now we decided to release a new major or minor. It's a little bit complicated every year, okay? And if it's a major, so if we come from 5 to 6 or to 6 to 7 or 7 to 8, we could break compatibility, and if it's just minor or revision, we don't break compatibility. So it's cool, 3 years of life. So it's 2 + 1, about bug fixes and security fixes. and it gets end of life 1 year of security fixes, and then end of life. So this year we have 5.5, so next year will be 5.6 probably, and then 5.7, and then if something shows up and it's very big, it's very new into the language, so it will be called 6 or 7, it will be a major release, something like that. About PHP ecosystem, just to let you know that there is lots of subdomain behind PHP.NET, just not freew.php.net. It's okay, PHP.NET as you may know it, but you got lots of sites behind PHP.NET, so here is a bunch of them which could be interested if you want to develop, if you want to improve the documentation, improve the quality, or just download versions of PHP. Here are the domains. We nowadays use Git, so PHP used the CVS, then SVN, then now Git. Okay, so it's easier to maintain, and it's easier to manage all the contributors through pull requests and things like that. We got our own Git server, okay, but it's mirrored on GitHub, so you can just see on GitHub what happens about PHP. Start about the contributors. They are very. There used to be lots of contributors, but nowadays there are less contributors than 10 years ago. There are about 10 to 15 regular contributors which give code patches or things like that, monthly based, okay? And we have lots of more and more contributors like that, but they just give code sometimes. So it's not just about code, you know, PHP.NET, it's infrastructure services, it's hosting the PHP.NET, the hardware, the machines, and all the mirrors which are spread worldwide. It takes time to do this, so this is a manner of contributing as well. There is just not only the code, you can also improve the documentation, translate the documentation. This is a contribution as well, and lots of things to do behind that. So this is partially why PHP 6 was just trashed and stopped, because there are not enough contributors. PHP 6 was just rewriting the entire engine. Nowadays, PHP engine is something like, I guess, 100,000 of C line, and PHP total with all embedded extension by default is about 1 million of C line of codes, and we are about 10 to 15 people on the planet to contribute to this code. So there is a problem, and PHP 6 was a very huge challenge about rewriting all the engine parts, and it was just a too huge task for the people who made it, and so they gave up. And there were another problem, it's that the solution to implement Unicode in PHP 6 was nice, it worked, but it dramatically changed the performance of the language, okay, and its memory consumption, and we just could not release a language like this. So Unicode is still in a branch, and at the time someone will come with lots of energy to get people contribute and make another release. We will probably have PHP supporting Unicode by default, but nowadays no one showed up anymore, so it's on standby actually. No, in PHP 5.5 there won't be Unicode implemented natively, okay, but there will be lots of new stuff, and as PHP 5.5 is coming, it's getting out in this month or next month. It's just very close to us. I'm going to show you some features you could expect in PHP 5.5, okay? So it's always the same. If you want to contribute, to add things to the language, you now have have to write an RFC to detail all your ideas. You have to get people get involved into your ideas. They just like it or they don't like it. So you open a debate. It can last lots of time. And those ideas here have been implemented with votes. So people said, okay, this feature, I like it. I just don't like it like this. Just modify, you should modify your code over there, and then another patch comes, another patch shows up, and then finally people say, oh yes, okay, this is the right patch, this is the right ID, just go commit it, and then the feature is added. Okay, so nowadays we have many people showing up with lots of ideas. Some of them are just bad, some of them are good. But the problem is that people nowadays can just, lots of people come with ideas but no knowledge about how to implement them. So as lots of contributors just do this on their free time, on their spare time, it's hard to say, hello, I would like this in the PHP language. Okay, just do it. No, it simply does not work like this. So here, those features I will show, the contributors who contributed those features were really involved, and they provided patch and C code, and they just branched from master to another branch in Git and showed the new feature and then fixed the bugs, and it's very long to do. So that's why we have no big features such as Unicode, because we just have no human resources about this. So we're going to talk about password hashing API, finally keyword, lots of more stuff, but I cannot show you, and then breaks in the language. So new password API, what is it? Well, it's something that should have been embedded in PHP since years, but it's not been done because just no one wanted to push this in PHP. You use PHP daily, and daily you have to manage login and password forms, you know. So you have to turn password to something which is not readable, crypted, and then crypted back. So you hear about hashing, salting, encrypting, all those stuff. PHP just lets you do however you want, and that's bad because people just tend to use things like MD5, and that's all to store password in databases, and it's very bad for security. So now PHP just has a new API for managing the passwords for you, and it's very easy. This is the by default use case. So now you have a password which just comes from a form, I guess. So you get it in get or post variable, and then you call the password hash function, the new password hash function on this password, and then you get a hash, and this hash you just have to store it in the database, and you don't have to worry about what's in this hash. How did PHP turn this password to this hash? It's not your problem anymore. It's safe by default. You can read all the implementation if you want. There are lots of things to say about it. And then when you get back the provided password, you just compare it to the hash with password verify. It just tells you true or false, if it's good or not. And then the password is just now PHP takes care of crypting, salting, and all this complex stuff in your password back and forth, and it's just all right for you. You have, if you want to get your hand more deeper in the stuff, you can do it, because you can provide lots of options to this API, like the cost, the salt, and lots of things like that. So I will let you read the documentation about it. So now it's far more easy, because if you see in WordPress, in Drupal, in your own project, how do people authenticate users? They just do crazy things about passwords, and they all have a different manner of handling passwords, and now PHP can do this natively, so it's very nice. Okay, so you just have the hash encapsulates all its all the stuff needed to hash and to unhash. So just one database field is needed, and you're just done with your password. It's nice thing. Other changes in the language you could expect. I just listed the things like this and just threw them on my slide, but there are not very new functions. Okay, there are not many new functions, but if you use a internationalization extension, which is I18L, it has been massively worked or improved. We use it at BlaBlaCar on 5.3 and on 5.4. It's a little bit buggy and we need much stuff, and now it's been added in this extension, as well as if you use curl, it's been updated, and PCRE as well, and lots of bugs fixes as well. So this is cool for you. We have engine changes in PHP because we add new features. Okay, this is cool. Now I can use the new password API. We introduced the finally keyword, and you saw this on my slide. So if you use object-oriented programming and you use try and catch, and then in other languages you can use a keyword which is called finally, and it's not in PHP. It will be in PHP 5.5. We added the finally, the try catch in PHP 5.5. Finally, okay. And we changed the engine, so we changed little things. Perhaps you use them, perhaps you don't use them. So if you don't use them, it's all right. If you use them now, you can use for each with lists. Should you know that you could not, before you could not use lists directly in the for each structure because it just did not work. And now you can do this in PHP 5.5. So it's pretty nice improvement about this. And you can use as well constant expression dereference like this. So you can directly create an array and directly use brackets and use a new. You can access directly your array should you need this. This is just about the syntax. This is turning PHP to Perl. No, that's not. But that can help in some cases, so it's something you could use. We added an OP cache in PHP 5.5 as well. So who knows about what is an OP cache extension? People are aware about this? OP cache, you don't know this in PHP. Who uses PHP daily here? Lots of people. Okay, you don't know about OP code caching and things like that. APC, you should know this extension. APC, well, it's complex stuff, but now we have an OP cache bundled directly in PHP. This is a massive improvement for PHP because we've been discussing this for years. Should we include APC into PHP? Should we embed another extension, another OP code cache in PHP or not? Yes, no, yes, no. The answer was always no, and now the answer is yes, because Zend just opened the code of their own optimizer. They sell it with their stuff. They open it, they open sourced it, and it was called Zend Optimizer Plus. This is the name of the commercial product, so it's been renamed to be embedded in PHP, and now it's called OPCache, and it's directly in PHP. So this is basically what OPCache is aimed at. It's just you know that PHP is a virtual machine, and you don't compile the script manually. It just does it by itself when you launch PHP. So it has to parse all your scripts and turn this to OP code that the virtual machine will execute. And the parsing phase, so turning PHP language to intermediate language to run it, this phase is very heavy in PHP process. So OP code cache just says, okay, the first time you come, you pass the script, and then the result of the parsing is just now stored in shared memory, so it can be copied to every process, every PHP process in FastCGI, for example. And then when you hit the same script at the second, third, and all the time in the future, it just does not compile anymore. The OP cache has the OP code. It's something like turning Java to a binary, and you load this binary in the Java virtual machine. It's the same thing, except that you cannot natively get the binary data out of PHP. It's inside, it's all in the black box, but it's the same thing. So it does not compile the scripts all the time anymore. So it's pretty nice for optimization and time, CPU costs. And PHP 5.5 breaks little things. So we want to push out the MySQL extension. This is very old stuff, should you know about it. So now in PHP 5.5, if you use MySQL underscore something, those functions, they will all throw an error telling you, oh, you should not use this. Use a PDO or use MySQL I instead. And we dropped support for all the Windows version, okay, and should you use those logo stuff and things like that, they don't exist anymore, but you don't, I guess. And pack and unpack, minor changes, well, it's just very, very little breaks, so there is no problem about migration, I guess. And the biggest step in performance was 5.3 to 5.4. 5.4 to 5.5, you should expect a very little improvement in performance, but the big gap is between 5.3 and 5.4. So here is a benchmark I just ran on my test suite we use in BlaBlaCar.com. So we have about 1,000 tests with lots of external services and SQL, and here you can see about the memory usage and the time taken to run all those tests. So you see that between 5.3 and 5.4, it was very nice about improving performance. In 5.5, it's just a little bit less than this. We are not wizard magician, you know, so you cannot improve performance every time. Should you run the engine performance script in PHP 5.3, it takes about 21 seconds to run it. So you can see this is just using PHP and doing lots of things in the engine. So it's about 21 seconds, and it's 10 seconds in PHP 5.4. So it's it's half the time. And in PHP 5.5, yeah, it's barely the same, you see. So you should not expect very, very nice improvement in performance in 5.5 compared to 5.4, but if you compare to 5.3, it's very nice. That's it. I guess we have about 3 minutes for questions, if you have questions, and that's finished. So I guess perhaps you have questions? Yes? Yes, it showed it's better. With OP cache, it's better. It showed that it's better. It's not only an OP cache, it's also an optimizer. And an optimizer is something which optimizes the compilation. We have 7 steps of, like in GCC, you know, you remove unreachable paths. So if you write something like if false something, it will get compiled, and then the optimizer will see that the path can never be ran. So it will just spread the OP code out, and you have less OP code, and you have a better compiler and something like that. It's bundled in OP cache. It was not in APC, so things like that. Another question, perhaps? Oh yes, you have one.
Actually, you showed some comparison of test performance for like 900 tests or something like that. And I was just wondering if that is with the opcode or not. Because usually
No, it's not. No, it's not, because it hasn't, it's just CLI, so in CLI you don't use...
I was wondering because you could still run the optimizer on that.
Yes, yes, it was not, no, with no Pcache at all. Last question, perhaps. So you can reach me here. I'm here for all this morning and part of the afternoon. So if you have questions about PHP, PHP's life, and PHP internal stuff, you just can ask. So thank you for listening.